What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Sideline Sports. I'm your host, Trevor, still out in Florida. So, now, blah, 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 getting all mixed up. As you can see in my background, it's a bedroom. It's not my studio. So, when I get back to the studio, sound quality should be a little bit better. Anyway, hit that like, hit the subscribe, guys. Come on in. Today, we're talking 49er football. I'm going to push off the Giants and the A's until the end of the week because I just realized, I didn't talk Niner football on Monday, so I want to do it now before the Warriors kick off. So let's talk a little bit about the 49ers and their needs and what they've done lately. And the fact of the matter is, it's been pretty quiet. And why has it been quiet? Well, because the Niners are doing the business that they do as usual, once again. And when I mean that, I'm talking about Brock Purdy's contract. And when you have a guy like Brock Purdy, where you know he's going to get 50, 55 million a year, and that's just the going rate for him, some people out there want to say that he's not worth that. And it doesn't really matter because that's not how the NFL operates, guys. He is the next man up when it comes to the contract negotiations. And the bottom line is that unfortunately in the NFL, if you're a good quarterback and the market set at a certain rate, that's the going rate, and that's what you're probably going to get. So he's going to get top tier quarterback money, and he kind of is a top tier quarterback. Should he get Josh Allen money? Probably not. But will he? He may get in the neighborhood. I don't know yet. But one thing is for sure, the Niners have done nothing to get this contract signed, done, delivered, and over with so that they can get on to bigger and better things, which is signing an offensive tackle and signing an edge rusher, which are two things, and not necessarily in that order, two things that the Niners need really, really bad right now. So if you take a look at what the Niners have lost or given up in the last month or so, Javon Hargrave is gone, the grave digger, but he wasn't really digging too many graves last year anyway, so it was fine to get rid of him. And Malik Collins is gone, Leonard Floyd gone, and so we need somebody. We need an edge rusher. We need a good edge rusher, somebody to help Nick Bosa attack the quarterback because the quarterback has way too much time when it comes to the 49ers defense. And there are other needs that the 49ers need to address in the draft. And so let's talk about the draft in a minute, but let's just talk about why the Niners aren't moving on any free agents right now. One, it's slim pickings. There's not a lot out there for the Niners to go after in the first place. But nonetheless, it wouldn't matter because they don't have the contract with Brock Purdy done. They're not close, but they will be close because in the end, Brock Purdy is going to get what he wants. And I don't know why they're delaying. If they wait all the way until training camp, what you're basically saying is that you like the team as is and you're going to live and die by your draft. The Niners have drafted fairly well recently, so it's fine that they're not relying on free agency or trades or anything like that, even though I'd like to see them be a little bit active in the market just to see what they can get. I'm sure there's some players out there that they could add, and it's still early, by the way, guys. We're not even close to training camp yet. So in the draft is coming, but it means they have time to play around and move things around with the roster. And, they got time. But the bottom line is they need to sign Brock Purdy to find out exactly how much money they have in the bank to go out there and get other players, okay? Not including the draft, because obviously the draft doesn't cost you much when it comes to players. Unless you're talking about the number 11 overall pick, then it'll cost you some money, but not nearly as much as other players in free agency or in the trade market. So anyway, it all starts with Brock Purdy and getting that contract done so that they can see what they got left. I think that it's a pretty strong draft when it comes to offensive linemen, defensive tackles. So there they are in a good position, especially in the 11 spot, to go out there and get a defensive tackle. Now, that's what I wanted to tell you guys is basically the defensive tackle edge rusher is definitely the player, the position we need to go after first, and then start looking at offensive tackle and then work your way out to other positions. Wide receiver slot is very, very thin. They only have a few good wide receivers right now. I'm not sure if you could call either one of them Pro Bowl material, but they're decent wide receivers with Jennings, um, at the head of that. But it would be nice to have another wide receiver. We'll see what they do. But the draft has to be focused on defense and offensive linemen first in the trenches and then go out from there. It just has to be if you want to have a decent year and have a quarterback that stays upright for any amount of time, because they were struggling with that a little bit last year as well. But number one, you got to have a pass rusher. And then number two, you got to get a couple of offensive linemen there. And then we haven't even talked about, in the last few episodes, I have not talked at all about the cornerback position, because the cornerback position is one that they need to take a look at and fill as well. They have never been strong in the cornerback position, and they seem to be getting burnt pretty bad on the corner position all day long last year. So that's something they have to look at too. There are a lot of needs that need to be filled here, but bottom line is that they can be achieved if they get this thing done with a quarterback and stop playing around. Unfortunately, the problem is with the Niners and the way they do business is they drag things out until the very last minute, and then they end up paying what they would have paid 2 months ago. It's, it happens every single time. It's really frustrating, and I don't know how it's going to be any different here with Brock Purdy, but if they don't sign him, then there's going to be a lot of nothing going on, because all that money is going to him. And they've said that basically outright anyway. So it's not a shock that they're releasing players so that they can free up cap space and money to sign Brock Purdy. But there will be some left if they negotiate properly. Look at Patrick Mahomes. He signed one of the biggest deals in the NFL, but it was backloaded. So he got paid now, but he's going to get paid a lot later on. And in the meantime, they can fill some other spots on the team, on the roster, to help get them back to the Super Bowl. If he was getting paid all that money up front instead of on the back end, then they wouldn't have any money left to go and fill the roster out with other great players. If they do the same thing with Brock Purdy, then they can go out and they can get some other players. But if they wait until the last minute to do that, then all those players that are available right now, or any players that might be up for trade, will either be traded or they're going to stay with their respective teams. And now you're living and dying by the draft. So you don't necessarily want to do that when you've released this many players. Yes, having the number 11 overall pick will probably make an impact, but will the second round pick, the third round pick, fourth round pick make an impact? Hard to say. Sometimes they do. Brock Purdy was like the last pick in the entire draft, but you're not going to land that kind of guy and get that lucky. Hardly ever. It's like winning the lottery. They really did win the lottery when they got Brock Purdy, because nobody was expecting anything from Mr. Irrelevant, and then he became relevant. But you can't rely on that every single time you go into the draft. So they need to go out, get the signing done for Brock Purdy, get everything under control, and start focusing on other positions that need to be filled immediately, unless their whole plan is to just go with the draft, in which case I'm not going to call this a rebuild, but it is like a semi-rebuild, and you can't expect the 49ers to go deep into the playoffs or have any Super Bowl chances this next year, because now you're building your team with younger players that need to develop, and it might take a few years to get where you're going. If that's what they're doing, that's fine, because it looks like that's what they need to do anyway a little bit, but I did have some hopes that they were going to go out and make a couple moves or clear some money, clear some cap space, get Brock Purdy done early, get the contract to be a team-friendly and player-friendly contract so that they could go out and make some trade moves. Now, that still might happen. It's still very early, but right now, the fact is we can get here on the podcast and I can say the same thing over and over again, because the Niners are not doing anything and will not do anything until the draft unless they make that move of signing Brock Purdy now and getting it over with. Again, it doesn't make any sense to wait until the last minute when you know you're going to pay this man a specific amount of money that is just, there's no wiggle room on it. It's 50 to 55 million a year, period. That's what it's going to be. I don't need a crystal ball to know that. I know that because that's the way the NFL operates. That's how quarterbacks get paid, and that's what's going to happen. So why would you wait till June and leave 2 months of possible free agent signings and trades that you could be making by just stringing this along? It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand why the Niners do this with players that they know are fantastic Pro Bowl impact players. Now, if you want to do that with a player that maybe isn't a sure thing, then I get that. But with Brock Purdy, it makes no sense to do that when you know for a fact that's your quarterback. There is no way around it. You're not letting him leave. He's not going anywhere. He pretty much holds all the cards right in this negotiation. There's no way around it. So you get that deal done. You don't wait around for it. So like I was talking with David Bruce a couple weeks ago. He said they have a plan. That's a good thing. They better. Well, we're all trying to wonder what that plan is. We're all sitting back looking at this going, okay, what is that plan going to be? And we haven't seen it yet. And so fine, they're playing the long game, and that's fine. They can. And when I say long game, I mean waiting another couple of weeks, month and a half to sign Purdy instead of doing it now. Maybe that's going to work out if they have a plan. Maybe that's the deal. So we'll see what happens. I'm optimistic. Their schedule is very team friendly in this next year. So if you are doing a semi rebuild like what they're doing right now, it makes perfect sense to do it now when they have an easier schedule as far as that goes for next year. So they can still maybe grab a wild card spot, or who knows, maybe they're going to be a breakout team next year and surprise some people after losing the players that they have. Maybe they will make it deeper into the playoffs. But either way, they're not going to be a horrible team. They're going to be a watchable team that has a very good chance to at least make a wild card spot right now, I believe, and that's before the draft. So either way, I do think the part of the plan is, hey, look at the schedule. We don't need to make big moves right now. I would still like to see them get Brock Purdy done early so that they can maximize their potential before preseason starts. You don't know about injuries, and last year the Niners had the most injuries of any team ever in history, I believe, or at least that's what they were saying. Pretty sure it's true. Almost everybody was hurt. Not exaggerating. Almost everybody that was a starter, that was an impact player, was hurt on that team at one point or another in the season for an extended period of time, meaning 2-3 weeks. So that's not going to happen again, most likely. But if it does, you have to have depth, and that's a problem. They don't have depth at the corner position. They don't have depth at the wide receiver position. They do have some depth at the running back position, but not much. So yeah, they have a lot of work to do. And when you have that much work to do, you should get the contracts that you know are going to happen without a doubt done so you can address those other areas, because pretty soon it won't be 2 months until training camp. It'll be 2 weeks. It'll come before we know it. So it would be nice to see them get this thing done with Brock Purdy, because everything else, all the dominoes will fall after that one. They won't fall before it. So anyway, guys, we'll keep talking about 49er football when we have news. It's just that we won't have much until that thing gets done. And it's all quiet on that front right now. They're not really talking about it. I have a feeling that we're just going to get the news one day that the contract's done. There's no real sense of urgency as far as Brock Purdy's camp goes. So you're not going to hear a lot of news of, hey, we're talking to other teams now because this deal is not getting done. I think both sides know it's getting done. So it's going to be quiet until one day the news just breaks that he's got a contract, and nobody's going to be surprised, but it should be sooner than later. That's all I'm saying. Right now on the offensive line, Trent Williams is still there, but he's got a year or two left. Who knows how much time he's got left before he retires. He's still one of the best offensive linemen in the league, but you got to go out and get offensive linemen because he's the best you got on that line. And after that, it drops off quite a bit. So you've got to go out there and make some moves and do well in the draft. You have to win in the draft, and you've got to go out there and maybe make a trade possibly, or pick up a free agent and have some people battle for some positions there in training camp, which I can almost guarantee that will be happening. But there's some players out there that will, like Isaac Orindo, will take another step forward. I believe that he's going to help out a lot in the running back position. So that's a really strong area for the 49ers for sure. So, I mean, there's 3 main areas you got to look at, and they've already addressed the special teams for the most part. So the special teams should be better next year. So the main 3 positions, what are we talking about? Defensive linemen, offensive linemen, cornerbacks. Quarterback's already been taken care of. And if you can get a wide receiver at some point in the draft to hopefully strengthen that wide receiver core, that would be a good thing. They do have a couple of good wide receivers already, so it's not a position that is at at an emergency need, but it is one that if somebody gets hurt, they're in big trouble. So they're going to need to get somebody in there, a couple of guys in there at least, not just one. They're going to need a couple of wide receivers in there that can be serviceable along with Jennings. If you're going to make Jennings that number one wide receiver guy, which it looks like they are, unless they hit on the draft, but that's not going to happen because remember, the number 11 pick is going for the defensive lineman, the offensive lineman. So that wide receiver you're looking for to make an impact that year in the second, third, fourth round is probably not going to happen. I can't say it's not because you never know, but most likely it's not going to happen. So then you're looking for that trade or that free agent or somebody out there that can come in and help. And that means Jennings is your number one guy, which I'm not opposed to. Nobody gives him credit. He's a great wide receiver. I'd love to see him take on the number one wide receiver role for this team, especially since they don't have anybody else battling for him. And Brandon Ayuk's not coming back till December at least, unless they trade him and get out of that horrific contract that they signed last year that I guess they just should have never done. Probably should have seen the writing on the wall with that one before it happened, but it didn't happen. So let's just see what goes on with the Niners. We'll talk next Monday. We'll be back to Niner football every Monday. Right now, just realize with the Warriors so close to playoffs, there's going to be a lot of Warrior podcasts taking the place of other sports I talk about, like football, baseball, and basketball. And football and baseball and hockey because of basketball. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Keep watching. I appreciate the support. Switch over to YouTube. Check it out. Give me a like. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, or just keep watching on Instagram here. And I appreciate it. I'll see you I'll see you tomorrow, 6 o'clock. I know I'm a little bit late this time. I was out, but I will be back tomorrow, 6 p.m., talking Giants and A's right here on Sideline Bay Area Sports. And anyway, hard work beats talent. Talent don't work. So I'll keep working hard for you. You keep watching my show, and I'll see you in the next one. Why are you rushing so much?